Let me again thank you all for your attendance at this quarterly business forum especially on agriculture and agribusiness and the agro-allied value chain. I must say that I think we are at a special moment in our journey to food security and becoming a power of sorts in exports, especially of agriculture, processed agricultural products in particular. I think we're in a very special moment. I think we are, especially because the federal government has shown tremendous commitment to agriculture and also to the entire value chain. And we have seen the enthusiasm of all the players, including even the small farms and small farmers all across the country. So I think this is a moment where we can do a lot of things. And I'm just getting a feedback on all of the various issues that have been raised, cheaper credit, and all that. I believe the Minister of Agriculture mentioned that the President has directed that we set up a small committee to look at intervention funds in agriculture. It's clear that we're not going to be able to bring down interest rates overnight. There's no question that that's not just going to happen by any kind of fiat. So the way out, of course, is by some kind of intervention arrangements, and that's really what the President has asked that we do. And I'm chairing a committee to look at how to not only use intervention funds, but how to monitor the use of intervention funds. Time and time again, we have all these interventions that appear to go only in one direction, and several people do not benefit from these funds. So we're trying to ensure that we put in place a process that enables us not just to ensure that these funds get out there, but that they go to the right people, and also that we're able to monitor the use of the funds. And we're also refining the schemes, the Anchor Borrowers Program, and all of that, and the other intervention funds that we have for agriculture. Well, the other question, I listened to the questions around lower tariffs, lower electricity tariffs and all that. And of course, this is important. But we also have to recognize, and I think that time and time again, people go back to this issue of lower tariffs. Question really is what we're doing now and what we are paying now, especially now that most people have their own sources of power supply. There's no question at all that we must pay higher tariffs. There's no question. I think we must accept that these are inevitable, that these sorts of things are inevitable. The tariffs simply have to be, must be higher. What we're trying to do now is not to increase tariffs for now. And what we're looking at is how we can ensure that we clean up the whole value chain. I'm sure that you're aware of the payment assurance guarantee, which were put in place for over 700 billion to ensure that gas is paid for and to ensure some liquidity in that whole value chain. And today we'll be meeting with the World Bank on a scheme which they have been working with us on to fund the entire value chain and to ensure that we're able to very smoothly transit from where we are to a much more market-determined policy for electricity. But that is going to involve a fair amount of subsidy, a fair amount of help. And both the federal government and the World Bank are working together on that. But I think we must accept that going down, there is no way of sustaining there's no way of sustaining the current subsidies. We can't sustain that long term. But we want to ensure that the process is smooth and that it's not a process that gives rise to any price rises and all that. Dealing with Papa Port, the gridlock in our Papa Port, of course, I think the first thing to recognize is that that port is supposed to be a 34 million metric ton capacity port. Now it's doing 80 million metric tons. So it's obviously a port that's far too small for the size of business that it is doing. But there are those who argue that, hey, look, if the operations there are efficient and if they are smooth, it can do the figures that we're talking about without great difficulty. But what we've tried to do is that we have met with all of the important stakeholders, aside from those who do their business there, the flour mills, Dangote and Co, the big players, the ABUJA, etc. We've also met with the Navy, the police, the Lagos State government, MPA, and at our last meeting, where we worked on a number of initiatives. We agreed a number of things that have to be done. I went personally to see for myself what was going on in that port area. And just as you said, there's a major problem there. But I think that everyone has agreed on what to do. There's a plan which we're executing. It's not going to, there's nothing that would happen overnight, but I think that we have a good plan and that we can make it work. We've taken a number of decisions. For example, empty containers are to be relocated to holding bays. Shipping companies would no longer be allowed to operate holding bays within the port. There are tank farms, which we have said must not be permitted within the Apapa port area. Process licensing, access to trailer parks by MPA is to commence now. And a task force has been set up to manage traffic within the Apapa and Tinkan Island environs. Now, Lagos State government also had its own task force, which I think Lagos State wanted to take its own initiatives, but this was after our meeting. But now everyone has agreed to work together, and we think that very soon we should be seeing some results. Our PEBEC team has been trying to monitor goings on. They say that not much has changed in the past 1 week at least. But we are watching that closely, and we hope that we'll be able to sort that out as quickly as possible. It is as you can imagine, a long running problem. The roads in that whole neighborhood are extremely bad, but we're trying to fix them. We've agreed in that committee that Dangote Group will carry out palliative works and reconstruction of some major sections of the Apapa Road. That they expect will be completed by June 2018. Procurement processes have also been completed for the construction of the Liverpool Road to Tinkan, to Mile 2, Oworonshoki, all the way up to the toll gate. And we think that would start any moment now. The entire procurement work has been completed for that. I believe it was Honeywell Group that agreed to construct the trailer park. Yes, Honeywell Group agreed to construct the trailer park. They've reported that they have started and that they will complete that very shortly. BOA Group agreed to construct, to do the works around the Tinkan Island Road. So I think we have it in hand. And we are monitoring, we are watching, and following up on all of these things. But again, it's a major problem. And of course, it adds to the cost of doing business. But here we are stuck with a problem. But I believe we have it in hand, and we will sort it out. On excise duty, we will consult. I think the point is to consult. I've read the study. It's a study which obviously goes in one particular direction. I mean, and I've been a professor, and having read studies, I know how studies can generally tend to represent the point of view that you prefer. But frankly, we will consult. There's no question at all about that. And we will make sure that this is not anything that hampers business or raises costs in any way that would discourage production. That's what we certainly intend to consult. The poultry, and again, we go back to this whole question of problems around smuggling, and what to do where obviously supply does not meet demand. There is a huge demand for poultry, and that's why, despite local production, people are still buying imported poultry, and there's a lot of smuggling. But just as we did with the tomato sector, tomato paste industry, I think we must work something out with poultry. And we must begin to take a look at what to do. With the tomatoes, we looked at supply and demand. And in developing the policy, we were quite sure of what it would take to bring local production to the point where costs don't go astronomically high because we are banning imports and all of that. And I think we've got a fair balance. And once that begins to work, I'm sure all will see that we can, that is a good, that the policy is a good one. But with poultry, I think we have the same sort of situation. I'm not, and I don't have any of the facts around where supply is and where demand is, but I think it's something that we must work on, and I'm sure the Honourable Minister of Agriculture will be willing to do some extra work on that so we can get some kind of balance. Smuggling is a serious threat to our entire economy. And Mr. President has asked that we take a look at this and see what to do, especially dealing with our neighbors. Already a team of us is working on that. And we really need to make the point to our neighbors, and we have already begun those consultations, that smuggling for us is an existential threat. We simply cannot permit the level of smuggling that is going on. Last year, there was over 500,000 metric tons of rice around Christmas, which the Minister of Agriculture was able to, we heard from him how this was coming in around Christmas, but we are fortunate that we were able to block it coming from one of our neighbors. I don't want to go into mentioning names, And now, just about now, there are about 3 shiploads of rice coming from Thailand. I think it's about 120,000 metric tons. To these same neighbors of ours who have very large warehouses, where they store this rice. And they don't, it's very clear that the rice is meant for Nigeria because they don't consume parboiled rice. They consume the white broken rice. So it's clear that our neighbors do excellent business with allowing rice to come into Nigeria. And I think and other products, including poultry. I think it's important for us as a country to make the point very clear that we're not going to accept that. But again, we are all within the same economic zone. We work together and all of that. So we will go in as friendly and as polite a manner as possible to ensure that this practice stops. For those who are familiar with it, the duty in some of these neighboring countries of ours, especially for rice, is deliberately set lower than our duty. It's almost about a fourth of our own duty. Of course, we've raised duty so as to discourage importation, but they will naturally drop duty to encourage imports from there, and then it will come to Nigeria by some means. So we are, I think we're at a point where we're making a fair amount of progress with the land issues also, with the state governors. It's not a problem, again, that we can solve overnight. Clearing land, for example, titling of land. Let's just take titling of land. I mean, we all know what the problems are with land titles, and I think the point was very well made about the difficulty of getting banks to accept land as it is. Obviously, the banks need to have title to the land and all that, but titling has proved to be difficult. One of the issues that we're working with the state governments on our ease of doing business is how to be able to effectively get land titles and efficiently get these land titles as quickly as possible and all that. But it's proved to be somewhat difficult. But I think some of the state governments are working very well with us on this. Lagos, Kano, Rivers State. are working very well with us, and we intend to expand this. As a matter of fact, we have an ease of doing business initiative for the subnationals, and at the moment a roadshow is going on. I think we're in Kano, Kaduna, and I'm not so sure which the other state is, where we're going around trying to encourage the state governments to work with us on all of these ease of doing business issues. There is no central, as you know, there's no national policy on land titling, because land is essentially, a subnational issue. So we really have to just work with the state governments to ensure that these things happen. With respect to land clearing, I think we've heard from BOA, and the Minister of Agriculture has also talked about what we need to do about assisting states, especially the southern part of the country, and in particular, I believe, the southwest, to ensure that we're able to support land clearing. And I think that will work. I've noted the suggestions have been made on a standing sort of consultative forum on agriculture and agribusiness. I believe this will be extremely useful. I think it will be extremely useful. I think it's something that we should do. How to go about it, I'm going to leave both the Honourable Minister of Agriculture and the Honourable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment to work those out so that we can get this going as quickly as possible. But I think it's a very important thing to do, because these continuous engagements are very important indeed, and I think we should do this as quickly as possible. So let me again just express my gratitude to you all for your time today, and for all of what you've done to make the Nigerian economy work so much better. Just as you know, I mean, all of us know how difficult it has been, but I'm extremely encouraged by a lot of the efforts that individuals are making, that the different associations and groups are making to improve things, to improve circumstances and improve our situation as an economy. And I think that we're all firmly of the view that this country is batting far below its weight, that we can do a lot more, and that this country can do far, far more than it's doing. If we just get if we get the infrastructure right, if we get the incentives right, and if we get all that we need to do right, this country certainly can be one of the major agriculture and agribusiness centers in the entire world. I think we're all quite clear about that. And I'm sure that if we work together, we can achieve all of that. Fundamental to our economic policy is private sector leadership. And we've emphasized and re-emphasized that time and time again. We've tried to establish several public-private sector platforms, including this one, the Quarterly Business Forum. So our constant engagement, in my view, is the way to go. And if we continuously engage and continuously interact in this way, we will resolve most of the problems that stand in the way of our becoming the great economy that our country surely has the potential to be. So thank you all very much again, and I hope you'll be able to spend a few minutes at lunch. Thank you.